Hi, everybody. Come on in. Nobody wants to sit up front? Come on. Said you might win a car if you sit up front. You might not win a car. Please come all the ways up here. Come sit on the stage with us if you want. Huh?
What?
Oh,
Are
well,
you in
you
the
are
room?
now VIPs.
You are a VIP.
Come on up.
Yes. Oh, I'm mic'd.
You're labbed and I'm handheld.
All right.
You're the main show, Hannah. I'm just backing you up over here.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for making time and joining. These are all VIP seats. If you feel like sitting in the front, that's fine. My name is Hannah Gala. I teach hospitality management, and I'm here today with Lynn Edwards, and we will kind of walk you through what you could use in this industry. And really, we called it, or I called it, rules for becoming a star. But the truth is that these are rather skills that will be helpful no matter what you do, no matter what field you're going to kind of choose. Although we will focus on events in particular, and this could be pretty interactive. So if you have questions, just ask right away, and I'm happy to also, we have a segment with Q&As later. So,
First of all, how many event planners do we have in the audience? Event professionals? Okay. How many suppliers to the event industry? Got a couple of those? Okay, great. So a lot of planners. All right, great.
that's really great to know. So let's get started. I am going to start with know thyself, and it sounds a little weird, but really it's the number one skill that you can have and master as you move forward. Know thyself was a sign at the sort of above the entrance, excuse me, to the Apollo temple in Delphi in ancient ancient Greece. And basically at the time, we're talking 400 BC, and at the time, the rock star of the time were the philosophers. And the biggest one of them was Socrates, who's the dude you're looking at. And Socrates was widely considered to be the wisest man around. Now, he was not super happy about that title because, there's a Caesar, there are the senators, and you're basically a vagrant on the streets of the Athens. And all you do is asking questions because Socrates developed this technique, the Socratic method, of asking questions. And he thought, if knowledge is power, I don't want to be considered a threat to the power structures. So he went to Delphi, which housed the oracle, or rather the priestess that would tell you what the oracle said. Now, the priestess was most likely high all the time. That's a sidebar, but it's good to know. And that's because the temple was actually built on top of a fissure in the ground, and the natural gases were, coming out from the ground. There might be some mushrooms involved, but that's an entirely different story. What I'm about to tell you is that Socrates hoped that he will go to the oracle, and she will give him some kind of non-answer that could be left up to the interpretation, and he will tell everybody that he really isn't the wisest, and he will leave. Sadly for Socrates, she was in no uncertain terms telling him, yes, Socrates is the wisest man. And he's like, oh, okay, how can I spin this? And then he thought about it, and he realized that the reason she considered him the wisest man was because of his self-awareness. He knew all his shortcomings. He was very clear about all that he doesn't know. And if you fast forward 2,500 years, that brings us to this topic of self-awareness. And self-awareness is the one skill that you have to master. It has two dimensions. The one is internal. Self-awareness is basically you manual, how you work. So What drives you? What triggers you? What makes you passionate? What makes you scared? All of the things that are important to you, all your values. And the external dimension is how others respond to you. And this is important because if you remember, Maya Angelou famously said, people will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. So how you make other people feel, the vibe that you're bringing into the room, that's really important to know. Now, how do you know? How do you self-master the self-awareness? One of the things that will help you is to know how you respond to fear. And if I tell you something that would kind of make you stressed, nervous, fearful right now, for some of you it could be, oh, the in-laws are coming without warning today, or your boss is coming, or a big client changes the idea of the venue, or whatever it is. You realize that your palms are sweaty, or you are have elevated heartbeat, and or any other kind of symptom of your hormones responding to the amygdala kind of being on a hijack. And essentially what I want you to do is 3 things about your kind of response. Think about your sensations, whatever is happening in your body, are not emotions. Sensations are different from emotions, right? Number 2, emotions are being built. We are all told that there's this, and I'm very happy during the Q&A going into details about, Inside Out and Pixar's idea of emotions, but the neuroscience is pretty clear. We are not born with sadness, joy, and anger kind of taking over our lives. The emotion is being built through billions of synapses in our brains. And so that's number 2. And number 3, there's a difference between reaction and a response. And the great thing about self-mastery is understanding how you change and kind of recalibrate your response when the reaction is involuntary. So I'll give you an example. Maybe driving here today, I was cut off in traffic, right? So I'm driving, and I get angry. Somebody cuts me off in traffic. And my reaction is, I get angry, right? So my heartbeat is elevated. I am seething. And I'm thinking, this jerk cuts me off. Why does he think, does he think he is? And is his time more important than mine? I don't think so. And as I'm sitting with that reaction, I can choose my response. Now, if I don't even think about it, I go with that reaction. So I get angry, and I'll be like, oh, just wait, I'll cut you off at the next intersection, right? And or I can go, oh, I can't wait to tell the person at work. And then I'm going to tell my friend, and then I'm going to be sitting with this angry, feeling for the rest of the day. Or I can go, okay, he's a jerk, but you know what? You can just keep that. I'm not going to get involved. I'm choosing peace. You do you, honey. You be the jerk who cut me off. I don't know anything about you. Maybe you are stressed and you don't even pay attention. Maybe you are rushing because your wife is in labor. I don't know. In that moment, you have 100% control over your response. So even though you could be angry in the moment involuntarily, you can work towards a good response, something that will be sustainable. And that's basically the little astronaut there saying hit pause. That's what I want you to do. That's the practical take home. Always think about what you can do because you hit pause, you stopped, you could take a moment, how to respond, right? Just recalibrating, thinking about it. And the one very valuable kind of visual that I have for you is called tapestry principle. And I'm going to use a prop. It's very highly sophisticated. It's a Starbucks cup. But I will give you an example of what a tapestry principle is. So let's say you blindfold me and you stand me facing a white wall. And you put this cup right in front of my eyes, right? And then you take off the blindfold. So all I'm seeing is like blobs of white and green. I have no idea what I'm looking at. Just as with the tapestry, if you're standing super close and you're only exposed to that small sliver, like a little square of the color, you have no idea what you're looking at. But if you only change your perspective, if you pull away, it's called, by the way, the technical term is perspectile knowing. If you allow for that, you will understand the whole tapestry. You will understand in that moment in traffic that it's a little thing and you have your whole day. You don't have to be angry, right? That's what mindfulness and meditation and all these techniques are basically trying to teach us, that we can change the perspective. So the take home for you is for you to be successful pretty much anywhere, but particularly in extremely high stress fields such as events, hitting pause is super important. It's gonna be a game changer for you. Okay, number 2, good lesson for life, stay open. I have 2 examples here, one from YouTube and one from Instagram. And basically the story of YouTube is it started as a dating app. Anybody knows the story of YouTube? So it started as a dating app because, well, I was gonna say because it was started by 3 guys in their late 20s and they were kind of figuring out how to get the ladies. But regardless, I'm sure they were technically very skilled, but they had this idea that they will sort of monetize the idea that a different app already or website had, which was in the early 2000s, there was a website called Hot or Not. Believe it or not, it did exist. And they thought, oh, we can just, kind of combine it. And the idea was people would make their own videos talking about themselves and then others would rate them with their likes. It didn't take off. It just didn't. People are like, I don't get it. It's weird. So they tweaked it a little more, didn't work. And then eventually they were like, what if we just allow people to do any video? It doesn't have to be dating, right? It could be anything. They did, and it took off like nobody's business, right? And they sold it for billions of dollars, and it became one of the most successful platforms of all time. Instagram has a similar story. 2 engineers who wanted to do a mobile photography app. And it wasn't working. The first month, they had 0 subscribers, right? 0 downloads. And then one of them had a girlfriend who said, hey, you have this capacity, the capability to edit the picture, to kind of help with the filter and do a little something so it looks pretty. So they did, and immediately they were, at the time, the fastest downloaded app. And it took a year before Google bought them for $1.6 billion, right? The morale of the story is listen to your girlfriend. No, that's not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is stay open. Sometimes we think we know. We're so certain that we have this rigid idea that we know where the conversation is going or that we know what our career should be. And today there's so many changes happening all the time. The whole industry can be reinvented over the next 2 years, right? So allowing yourself to stay open is going to help you succeed. Okay, be curious. Also like cats who are cute. That's a good, strategy to have. I think it's today when the 3rd season of Ted Lasso comes out. And I have no interest in, plugging a show, but I will tell you that there's a scene early on where somebody who is admittedly a jerk is being a jerk, and Ted Lasso quotes Walt Whitman, the great poet, who said, "Be curious, not judgmental." And he makes this connection between when we are judgmental, we are making assumptions. We are saying, I know where you're going with this, and I don't care about what you got to say. I already made up my mind. And you are blocking yourself from learning more if you are doing that. So stay open and ask questions. And you might say, well, Hannah, that's so easy to say for you because you're in front of the students and you do this for a living. I'm a shy person or I'm an introvert. Like, how do I ask questions? I'll give you my secret weapon, which is sometimes the questions don't have to be questions. Sometimes you can say, tell me more. Tell me more is one of the best ways how to keep people engaged. Lynn, how did you get here today?
Car.
Tell me more.
2-hour commute from Tacoma.
Oh, you live in Tacoma. Excellent. Tell me more.
Down on Day Island on the water.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Tell me more. And that's how you get people engaged. We all love talking about ourselves, okay? That's the truth. So today, this is geared to people who are starting out. I see some of my students, which makes me very happy, in the audience. And you want to talk to as many people as possible, but you want to make those conversations meaningful. And when you ask people open-ended questions, such as tell me more and or how come, you are not limiting them to the answer that you are hoping to get. You are basically pulling yourself away from that tapestry and letting them show you what that tapestry is for them. And that's what you want. Okay. Be a doer, not a viewer. There used to be a video of Kobe Bryant, and we removed it because I always talk too long and I didn't want to talk for a half hour. But the story about his simple math is this. When Kobe Bryant was 11 years old, he went the whole season without scoring a point. In basketball, by the way. Not that I'm, talking about any other sport here. And I like that story because I think it's really telling. He was devastated because he loved basketball. And he said with it, and he realized that for him, it's a question of math. And I highly recommend you going and going on YouTube and looking up the interview with Kobe that he did a couple of years ago, where he talks about the simple math. And basically, he realized this. Other kids are practicing 2 times a week for 2 hours. If I want to get better, if I'm practicing 3 hours a day, every day, there's no way I'm not going to get better than them, right? Like, it's simple math. So he does, and by the age 12, he's a little better, but he's not outshining everybody. By the time he's 14, he's so far ahead that people have a hard time catching up. It's a simple math. There's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I love and recommend to all of my students all the time. And he opens the book with this parable or example. He talks about 2 planes taking off at the same time from the same spot, same airport. And one of them adjusts its course by a few degrees, right? So it's just few degrees adjustment, but over time and over the sort of length of their trajectory, by the time these 2 planes land, they're landing at different cities, different states, hundreds of miles apart. Because that small incremental change leads to great gains, all right? Now, I have an exercise for you, which I do with my junior students, and we just did it a couple weeks ago, so brace yourselves. My question is this: if you close your eyes, think about 3 big goals that you have for yourselves. Something really big that you want to have 10 years from now, or in your lifetime. I want to start a family. I want to raise good children, good people. I want to take care of my parents when they're old. I want to own my own business. I want to produce the best bar mitzvah this town has ever seen. Or I want to bring joy to people every day while making a little money out of it, right? Whatever it is, think of 3 things. You're thinking? I'm thinking. All right. And now turn to the person next to you or behind you, or, and tell them one that you're comfortable sharing. So I will tell you, Lynn, that my goal would be, I really want to work out, like strength workout 3 times a week in my future.
Nice. Mine is also stretching.
Stretching, that's good.
It's not only the weight,
Oh.
weight training, but it's the stretching.
Yeah.
Sit all day or walk too much.
Yeah. All right. So now, part 2, all right? Exercise number 2, which is, I would like you to also silently now think about, sort of do a inventory of everything that you've done, kind of like a time log in the last 3 days. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. All right? Everything from carpooling the kids, going to work, talking to clients, going on a date, hanging out with your best friend, scrolling for 4 hours, whatever you do, on Instagram, and just kind of have that mental exercise. All right? Briefly. Okay. And now, that's the kicker. Of all the activities that you have been doing in the last 3 days, everything that filled your day, which one of these activities support the 3 goals that you just thought of? And I'm going to go first, straight up. I did not do any of the strength workouts that I committed to doing in the future, right? I just didn't get to it. But that's a problem, right? Because the great thing about life we are given is that today you're forging the person you're going to be 6 months from now. Today you are forging the person you're going to be 10 years from now. It's not going to happen in 6 months or in 10 years. Right now, you can actually change the trajectory of that plane. So you can land in that place where you want to be 10 years from now. And we mistake busy for efficient. I think you were talking about this earlier in the session. Being busy doesn't mean that you're working towards your goals. So being really thoughtful about what we're doing is kind of where you need to focus. All right? Okay, so having discipline, having some idea of the atomic habits and how you can make small adjustments. One really cool exercise or like a tool that helps me is, I don't know where I've heard that, but really like the idea of a film crew following you around. It's such a powerful thing, right? So think about that documentary about your life. I'm going to pick on my students here, and I will have Sophia's life before she was famous, right? Like that's what's happening right now. So think about what you're doing today and that film crew kind of following you and how that leads to a big success hopefully earlier than 10 years from now. All right, and the last one, and I'm gonna leave you with this, is, this is a segue to Lynn's topics, but out of the sort of know the industry can be also boiled down to, I think everything counts. Whatever you do, if you do it with passion, it will count. Change is constant. So you might be doing different jobs, different career tracks. It will all lead you to where you want to go, because the one thing that will not change is your values and your kind of understanding of what drives you. And if you feed that animal that is passionate and wants to help others and wants to do good, then anything you do will be leading you to that goal that you actually want. And that's it. That's my closing recommendation for you.
Thank you so much,
thank you.
Hannah. Thank you so much.
That's you.
If you don't know, Hannah runs a program at South Seattle College.
Yes.
And she's got people coming in through the event industry, coming into her great classes, so thank you. I'm Lynn Edwards. I'm the founder of Proper Planning. I've been an event professional for 30 years, and hopefully today we can give you guys some tips specific to if you are an event planner, how to advance your career, or if you're thinking about being an event planner, things you should be considering. Thank you, Hannah, for putting together this slide. One of the things about the event industry are there are so many different types of jobs you can have and be considered in the events industry. Here's just a logo soup of some trade associations, but the PCMA, let's see if I get these all right, Professional Conference Managers Association, NACE is the Association for Catering and Events, ILIA is for live events, MPI is Meeting Professionals International, and ICCA, I think, is Convention Center Association. Yep. So if you choose to be in the events industry, you don't have to be planning events. You can be supporting events as a supplier. You can be doing ancillary services that help drive the events industry. You can be in the production side of things. Shout out to the tech team back there. Look at those guys loving their jobs. You can be in production. You can be in food and beverage. You can be in decor. You can be in logistics. Lots of cool jobs to have. I personally have been through a lot of different really cool opportunities. I started in hotels, big hotels, small boutique hotels, convention centers, convention bureaus, and then I've owned an event planning company for 25 plus years. So I've kind of been on all sides. I've been a supplier and a planner. That's one term you might hear in this industry, particularly at this show. Are you a planner or are you a supplier to planners? Your products, your goods and services, do you supply event planners with what they need? Here's some important skills as I thought through this. I really think all of you should be thinking about. In the event business, and in any business really, you need a baseline of business acumen. And what I mean by that is a little bit of PR, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of human resource, a little bit of finance. You really have in this business a deep, wide toolbox of business skills that you need. I had a team member tell me the other day the most important class they took in college was an Excel class. And I was like, oh, I think I use about 20% of Excel. So again, your design skills, we're doing a ton of marketing. This Canva's there for everybody. I mean, your creative outlets will get used in this business as well. Marketing. We're going to have a session this afternoon right after this one called Think Like a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. And whatever you're doing in this business, you're going to have the opportunity to think about how do you get your product in hands of other people? Who is your target audience? Marketing 101, super valuable background to have. A lot of people come into the events industry through a marketing role or PR role. Budgeting, you don't need to be a CPA, but you do need to understand the basics of budgeting, income, expenses, net revenue, those kinds of things. And if you get a chance to expand your skill set around budgeting, if you were coming to me and wanting to work on our event planning team, I would say, what experience do you have around budgeting? Even if it's your own personal finance budgeting, that lets me know you're comfortable with throwing numbers in an Excel sheet and doing projections and understanding the basic money in, money out. I understand they don't even teach personal finance in most high schools anymore, which is I can't believe it. We used to have to learn how to do a book or a check registry. At least you understood money in, money out. How much do you have in the bank? So sharpen those budgeting skills if you get a chance. Staff management. I took an HR class in college, and I didn't really even know what human resource management was about. And the professor called me to the front of the stage, and they said, "Tell this student, student friend of yours that they smell." And I was like, "What? What is this class?" You're the boss. Tell this student that they need to work on their personal hygiene. I'm like, is that what like a personnel manager has to do? Yes. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to tell your friends you can't be late anymore. You're not going to work here. Sometimes you have to tell people that, they made a major mistake. It costs the company $50,000 and you need them to make sure it doesn't happen again. So managing people, and I had a team member that was an event planner, loved her spreadsheets and her logistics, but she told me, I don't want to manage people. I'm not good at it. I have no interest in it. And I'm like, you should learn that skill. Start small, have one person that works with you or under you so you can guide them. But personnel management, human resources, staff management, you're going to be in a role. And as you excel through your career path, hopefully you have direct reports, that people that work underneath you, that you're going to have tough, courageous conversations with them. And also you're going to get to celebrate them, which is awesome. Any questions on, and we want this to be fairly interactive, any questions on skills that you need to be an event planner? I'll say the two most critical skills, creative and resourceful. When you are at an event and someone tells you you're out of shrimp, what will you do? How can you be resourceful? What else do we have back there? Peanut butter and jelly? What do you got? Can you stretch the salad? What are we going to, like, creative and resourceful. I go to Home Depot and the guy in there cracks up because he's like, oh, here comes that event planner again. I'm literally looking at PVC pipe and he's like, what are you building now? I'm like, I know this is intended for plumbing in your bathroom, but I'm going to build an arch and then we're going to do this. And he's just like creative and resourceful. Also, anybody, yeah, you have a question? Jump in here, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question was, do you have to, if you don't want to market or you're not great at it and you realize that, how soon in your company, or your organization, can you get somebody else to do the marketing? I think you need to be prepared to do your own until you can afford to have somebody else do it. You also have to really analyze the return on investment. If you have a marketer out there in the streets telling 10 people about your product that you didn't have when it was just you that couldn't market, you're going to have revenue to support that spend. Right? So analyzing the return on investment for having a marketer. There's a ton of, and there's college students in here, there's a ton of marketing students that would be happy to come on board and build their portfolio and do it at no cost, just to have that real life experience of taking a brand, putting it into a marketing strategy, and then tracking how it did. So be creative and resourceful. You can't afford a marketing person. There's a lot of great talent of people who want to learn to get their portfolios built out.
And if I may, to add to that, I think when you're starting out a business, when you're building the business, there's always this, not always, but sometimes we have this mindset of scarcity. Like, I have to do all of it myself. But the idea is, you are great at other things. You just said that, right? So having somebody else do the other things so you can focus, like marketing, so you can focus on that one thing that you do better than everybody else. That's worth your consideration. And the second thing is, so that return on investment is there if you have, if you can kind of guard your time to do that one thing that you're really good at. And the second piece to it is when we when we teach marketing, we always talk about how that's a way of doing business. Marketing is so broad now that yes, it's about systems and you should have somebody do that for you, but also just how you think and talk about your business, your personal brand kind of colors it. So every time you do anything, you think, how can I tell everybody what I'm doing? How can I spin this in a good way, right? Like, because you're proud of your business, you're proud of what you're doing, you want others to know it. So when you're looking for somebody to build you, like LinkedIn posts and Instagram posts and all these engines and systems, find somebody who has the same vision as you and the same values so they can really get you. I think that it's so hard to find that person, but it's worth it because then they will be kind of excited for that business for you, and it will be much easier to kind of see marketing for what it is, which is it's building your revenue. It's building demand, and you want that. You need that.
Well, and I think in the marketing of your event services, the events business is very visual. And a lot of people, it's like going and finding a great eyebrow wax person, right? I'm not just going to go find some random. I'm going to ask somebody, who does your brows? They're amazing, right? I'm going to go word of mouth. I'm going to go. So when Microsoft hands somebody a $10 million budget to create an event, they're going to do it because they've seen your work or someone who's in your industry says your work is amazing. So using those social channels to tell your visual story of the work you do, because they're not going to, you don't need to buy a billboard. Come to my, Jane's events. But you need to use the tools coming down the pipeline again through a resource that you could afford to tell your visual story about what incredible events you produce or what your services are for event people. I'm shocked that more suppliers don't send me more pictures of the cool stuff they're doing for other events. I'm like, just send me a bunch of pictures. I follow you, yes. Keep putting pictures down the pipeline so I can see that you're the best AV company in the Northwest, and you will get my attention. Coming through LinkedIn or through some other sources like that. So just remember, in the events business, you want to apply the marketing 101 principles. What's your product, what's your price, what's your placement, all the 4 Ps. And you want to apply those, but you want to remember this is a very visual business and the storytelling business around how you produce great events. It is going to be that testament to your work that gets you other business. But you do need somebody driving the story, the visual story. Any other questions? Now that you've realized you have to be an expert in all these areas, anybody still want to be an event planner? It's super fun. Some days you're the accountant. Some days you're the marketer. Some days you're the technician. Okay, so more important skills. Excel, PowerPoints, Canva. Visual story, whether you're doing a marketing project or whether you're doing a PowerPoint for your event itself, you should know a little bit about all of these. Now, if I'm going to have 27 decks for my breakouts, I'm going to hire a professional designer to give me a PowerPoint template. I don't think I'm that great, but I don't not know how to use it. If I have a speaker that gets stuck and needs to share their screen on a Zoom call, I know how to do that. So you need to know a little about a lot of different things as an event planner. Volunteer for association committees to grow your skills. I can tell you for Meeting Professionals International here in Washington State, I built the very first website for that association chapter, like ever. I had never built a website, didn't know how to do it. I was a volunteer committee member on the MPI board, and I was in charge of the newsletter that came out in hard copy print, and I had to build a website. So in these associations, you get a chance to broaden your skill set in a safe environment where you're not in your full-time job and can get fired if the website doesn't work, right? You're in this cool environment with other professionals that are trying to expand their skill sets. And I do think, again, the 3 most important skills are adapt to change. People are paying you for peace of mind. When you run out of shrimp, and this goes to what Hannah was saying, your reaction, they're looking at you as the professional to stay calm in a very stressful situation. We are T-minus 3 minutes. Our keynote speaker is not here. And my friends joke, my face is like a drive-in. Everything that's happening, is they can tell on my face. Not at work, because they're paying me for peace of mind. And I always get with my team, I get a war room that I can go in and go, holy crap, we're out of shrimp. But then I got to come out and be like, what else do you got back there? Right? So if you have a skill set and the ability to remain calm under stressful situations and temper your reaction and then move quickly to decision making, my team always says to me, I can't believe how fast you can make a decision. I said, but you have to remember, 30 years, 3 years, 30 years. I've been through a lot of scenarios where I can fire off a lot of things that we should try immediately. I also think very quickly about the pros and cons of trying all that very quickly. So you really want to make sure that you're in the right, like, did anybody here plan the prom? Or a sorority? Or a field trip? Or a family outing? Okay, more hands. Did you ever plan were you ever a staffer up at the Congress during one of the things? You guys, okay, I say that to speak to a lot of schools about a natural skill set of I like to plan, I like to make a checklist, I enjoy checking stuff off on my list, I'm a great project manager, I remember to bring the Frisbee to the family picnic, I am naturally a planner. My skill set leans towards that. Then develop the rest of these skills. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Questions about what skills you need to go out there and be an amazing planner? How are we doing on time?
I don't know. 3 to 1. So we have
3 minutes till
almost to 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving. Community building. This is really important. You have to build your vendor network. And by vendor, I mean people that you use. Victor, who was up here, who does registration. Someone will say to me, Lynn, do you have a balloon guy or gal? Lynn, do you have someone who can pick up garbage? Yes. Do you have somebody who can fabricate a coffee station? Yes. Do you have a sign company that can put a cling on the front of my panel at the entrance? Yes. You only get that through building your vendor network. So I encourage all of you, you don't necessarily have to have Salesforce or a database management, but keep a list, do an Excel doc on Google, something, of every vendor that you use. Put them in categories. This is my caterers, this is my florist, this is my sound technician. Build this vendor network. I had a client, Chase Bank, called me, and they're like, I know this is weird, but we want to do this thing tomorrow. Do you have a balloon person? Okay, well, I'm in mostly conventions, large corporate meetings. I'm not in birthday parties or weddings. I don't do balloons, right? But they literally said to me, do you have a balloon person that can do this thing at the entrance? I go, yes. Give me an hour to make a call. That balloon person showed up that day and built it within 3 hours, and Chase said to me, I can't believe that vendor did that for you. I said, well, I take care of that vendor takes care of me. I have people, and when I ask, they'll show up, because you know how many, I have 100 events a year, and sometimes I use balloons. So I've strengthened that relationship with this vendor. She knows me, I know her, and she will drop everything and come and make me look like a champion. Build your vendor network. Your peer network. I'll tell you a quick little story. Being in the events business, not a lot of people do this for a living. A lot of people think they do this for a living because they plan their kid's birthday party. But when you start meeting peers that are professional event planners, it's super important to grow your relationships with them. I have many times been on a phone call with another event professional saying, I have to cut my budget by $2 million. Give me the top 5 impact points that I need to make sure I don't cut from. I just want to bounce it off somebody, right? Those are the peers that you're going to learn as you go through your career. These are your solids, your peoples that you can go behind doors and say, I don't know the answer. Can you help me? They can help you out there. Career move into networking, connecting on LinkedIn to the companies that you want to work for. LinkedIn is an amazing engine, and we never had that when I was coming up in the biz. Use it. I currently have about 6,000 event planners in my LinkedIn network. These are my competitors. Event professionals. And I learn from them every day, and I share information with them every day. And if I wanted to go and not run a company and have a job, I could do that tomorrow, because I'm constantly connecting with people who are in our industry. Here's an interesting story about, went to an event that we produced. It was a science fair for 700 people. There was a lady on the stage, and she was talking about the tigerfish, and she had lived and studied the tigerfish environment for 5 years, and I'm in the back of the room on the radio with the technicians who are at the front of the room, and I say to him, oh, I bet she's fun at a cocktail party, right? Kind of making a joke about this lady's entire world or career was spent hanging out with tigerfish. I go down to the reception at the end of the night, And I radio the crew and go, you're not going to believe it. She was by far the most interesting and most popular person at the reception for all these scientists to talk to. Find your tigerfish people. Find your event planning people that are the most interesting at your cocktail parties. Make sense? Okay, and then lifelong learner, lifelong industry learner. Follow influencers for the trends, techniques, best practices. I'm constantly trying to spend some time feeding my body of knowledge from event influencers. Attend events like today. Listen to industry podcasts. There's some really great ones out there. And then stay up to date on any credentials and the credibility that comes with credentials. So just like being a CPA or a lawyer, they go and they get those credentials. You can do that in the event industry. It's instant credibility. Keep up your credentials. When you meet somebody and you say, I'm a CMP, they know that you speak the same language. Make sense? Credibility. My dad, when I called him, told him I was getting my CMP, he's like, I don't know what that is. And then about 2 months later, he calls me, he's like, I don't know what that CMP thing is, but apparently it's very cool. I was on a ski lift with some lady who works at the resort. I told him that my daughter was a CMP, and they thought that was amazing. I got it in 94 when there's only 4,000 people in the world that had it. So he's like, that's a pretty big deal. I'm like, I know, it's not CPA. It's not lawyer, whatever those credentials, but yes, Dad, it's a big deal. Not PhD, but just know that there are career paths for you to continue to be a lifelong learner. This industry, like others, moves so fast, you cannot go and get all your skills, check them off, and then away you go. You have to stay plugged in to the educational pipeline. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And you guys hear that point that she made, which was she was an assistant at an organization, but she went out and volunteered at all these other events to get a broad brushstroke of event experiences and skills. Excellent idea.
I was going to add to what you were saying about LinkedIn. So I did some training on LinkedIn, and the guy was saying that basically of all the platform, LinkedIn has basically the biggest ROI for you, and speaking about marketing, because there's about 10% content creators. Of all the users of LinkedIn, about 10% of them are actually content creators. So that's a great opportunity for somebody like you trying to kind of see how you can present your skills and events is LinkedIn. And then the other thing, when you were speaking about Thomas Cromwell has this thing like rearrange your face. Learn to rearrange your face when you're talking to your clients. And it kind of links to that tapestry principle. I had a woman who reached out to me because she needed to prep for an interview as a personal chef. And she was applying for a position with a super wealthy, 0.1% of the population estate. And she was kind of obsessing over, all the skills and do I need to do more on the Asian cuisine and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all they want, what is it that you're looking for if you're that wealthy in a private chef? You want somebody who understands privacy, who understands that what happens in the house doesn't leave the house, who understands that the quirks that you have around your eating habits don't end up on the front page. That's what we want, right? We want excellent food, but even more than that, we're looking for somebody who has those skills. And you have to always kind of step away and be like, okay, the client that just freaked out over the shrimp,
Yeah.
what they want is you stepping in and being like, we'll handle it. It's okay. We have a backup plan, or we're going to come up with one in the next 15 minutes, right? That's what you need to always be, rearrange your face and think about what is it that the other person needs. And they need you to be calm and kind of confident in protecting that.
And to go to your point about your experience, when I teach with high school kids about this industry. I said, you've learned it's not what you know, it's who you know. I'm going to challenge you to rethink that and restructure it. It's who you know that knows you're great at what you do. And that is your badge in this event industry. You know, I had an intern come with me last year to the event show. We walked around. She's like, do you know a person every 5 steps? I'm like, it's who I know that knows I'm really good at what I do that has advanced my career this way. So if there's an opportunity to show your skills in a volunteer capacity, those people know that you're good at what you do. So it's who you know that knows you're good at what you do, not necessarily the other way around. For any final questions? Yeah.
Kind of going back to your talking about important skills, and you know a little bit about a lot of things. Yes, came up in one of the earlier sessions I was out of technology, and those are growing, and I see it. You know, doing actually job applications at the moment of what is your tech skills, your production skills, your registration system skills. Any idea on like how much people actually need you to know that stuff, or just a little bit, or is that something like I need to start going back to school and learn how to produce?
No, actually, I will tell you my 2 cents on this. What we do is not brain surgery. You don't need to go back to school and learn how to open a head. It's not brain surgery. It's an acquired skill over a lot of time spent in the trench of this business. You do, however, have to be an educated consumer. And what I mean by that is what you need when the AV company sends me a proposal. I don't know all the brands, but I know enough to say, do I have sound? Do I have projection? Do I have graphics needs? You have to get a familiar enough with the terminology, and maybe you do that through, again, shadowing and watching them for a day to watch how they do it. Not that you're not creating brain surgery back there, gentlemen, you are. I appreciate you taking care of my open cranium, but it's just, I would say that it can overwhelm you if you think you need to learn everything about this business. I tell my young team, they get with me and we go to an event and they're just like, oh, I forgot to do this. I'm like, event lesson number 1237, check it off your list. I went into a room with them and I said, what do you guys see in this ballroom? And they were standing in the back going, we know this is a quiz and Lynn's gonna test us and we don't know it's like looking for that little thing on a magazine where you look for what's hidden. And I was just like, what do you see? And they're like, oh, this is some kind of catch, I just know. So I said, okay, I'm gonna give you some hints as we go along. We paid $10,000 for the keynote speaker. What do you see? And they were all just like, oh, she's asking us, is it hot enough or cold enough? Is it, all the 5 senses? Can we hear? Just do a tech. What is it? And I said, we have no light on the stage. We have a $10,000 keynoter and no stage wash. So see this light back here, this stage wash? So I said to one of my team members, did you order the stage wash? Oh, I didn't really know stage wash was a thing. What does that even mean? Light on the stage for the $10,000 speaker. We got a ballroom for 2,000 people, and we have this black hole that they're going to be coming out of with their voice booming and sounding amazing, but we can't see them. So they're just like, oh, okay. And I go, Jen, check it off your list. Stage wash. Can I see the speaker? Can I see the stage? Is it well lit? I can't just infuse 30 years of event experience on a new event person. You need to be a quick study, calm, and open to learning and being pliable, if you will, to just take that in and go, okay, I don't want 3 more shows from now for you to not order a stage wash. Asked and answered, we went over it, you understood, this is how you cut the open heart. You got to master that skill. Then you're going to learn some other things. But I guess I would just say, that's a long answer to say, you don't need to know it all. You'll learn it as soon as you get in that role. You will make mistakes. The very first event I ever scheduled for a computer training class, no power in it. I mean, I could tell you a list of mistakes that I've made in 30 years. So don't be hard on yourself. You'll learn it a little at a time. You'll grow your confidence. You'll have, when someone says we're out of shrimp, you will have 30 years of going, how about if we do this? What if we take the box and we undo the box lunch and we put the things out separately and people can have salad and they won't even know we had shrimp. You learn those things from all the events you get behind you. Yeah. About the shrimp?
No power.
Oh, livid. The client was livid. And they're like, how did you, and I was like, I didn't know to ask if you needed power. I've been on this job about 2 years. Didn't even realize that was a thing. We changed rooms they were in, gave it to them free, offered them power. It all worked out. So it's always like, that make it work. Tim Gunn, he's my guru. Like, yeah, make it work. You just make it all works out in that end. Other questions? I just appreciate you guys being really open to learning about this business. It is super fun. 30 years. I put my feet on the ground every day, super excited to plan events. Is it glamorous? Sometimes. Does it suck? Sometimes. Is it fun and challenging and amazing people? Yes to all of that. We are lucky to get to be in this event business. I also say when you're in a business where you make widgets and send them on down the line, you never get to see the widget being used. It's a true blessing to be in an industry where you can create the widget and then watch people use the widget. So there's a moment at every event where I say, ooh, good call to change the orientation of the buffet. That worked. Oh, they wanted to have fun. Look at them having fun. They wanted to learn. Look at all the pens going to town. They wanted to grow and network. Look how much fun they're having bowling and getting drunk. We get to be there when they use the widget. So it's an incredible industry. I encourage all you guys, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Lynn Edwards, Proper Planning. Happy to help if you got moving up the career path. People reached back and grabbed me and pulled me forward and mentored me, and so I'm happy to do the same. So anything else, Hannah, in closing?
No, I would like to thank you all for coming and wish you all good luck. And yeah, definitely connect with
Hannah too. All right, thanks guys. Roll some music and we'll stick around and ask questions if you want to come on up.
Yep.
Enjoy the event show.
Thank you. All right.
Look at me bossing the tech table. Push music. See, I don't know how they push music. I just know it's time for walkout music.
I was going to tell you, the one thing that I also see, especially in my students and people starting out, you have this paralysis of I don't know enough. That's a good thing, right? But there's two aspects to it. And one is if you kind of start looking at all the things that you are doing already and making mistakes while doing them, it's like, that's my learning. And then it also depends who you work with, because they might know what you don't know, right? So.